Hey everybody, welcome to an exciting episode of
Brent,
and Chris.
we talk.
We do. We don't very often that you see, but we still do.
We talk a lot. You guys just don't get to hear it all.
So
It's
yeah,
unfortunate.
where we live, we finally got our little batch of COVID. Would you say batch? Our share, maybe? I don't want to say it like
I
that
would
either. But
say what you might call a wave is finally occurring in terms of more positive cases in the area
what's
over the
frust-
last 2 weeks.
what's frustrating to me is there's no surprise at all about this. I mean, our city officials largely ignored it. Law enforcement had no desire to do anything to wear masks themselves. City officials didn't seem concerned and were trying to open up the city before the governor's, what would you say, the governor's rules were met.
Right. He had
So guidelines.
thresholds.
Yeah, there's a lot of logical stuff in there. And they kept saying, well, it's not in our area, so we're going to open up sooner. Well, we did, and now we have our COVID units filled up. So much so that
Well,
my wife had to go work a COVID unit pretty much because,
yeah,
they couldn't have agency nurses in fast enough. So
they're opening up more and more COVID type wards, I believe they call it. And one interesting thing I read about today, I read about what do they call them? Mass spread events or something like that. And it was talking about like that motorcycle rally. Sturgis is one of them, where they traced people from there. They have I can't remember. It's hundreds of confirmed cases from that thing. And it was only a couple of weeks ago, and people from that went to, I think they said, almost every county in the U.S. The continental U.S. And it was, like you said, no one wearing. They were all like in denial about it. I mean, I know some people who are pretty darn conservative, who are elbow bumping and wearing masks, and it's not. They may vote for Trump, but they don't give a crap about what people are saying about it being a political thing with the mask.
it's really frustrating. I mean, it didn't have to be like this. I think it's comical just how little the RNC convention has talked about it. I thought the only person who's really given it any attention was Melania Trump.
Oh yeah, and I think that was their only grasp at it, because they were hoping that she's the least abrasive of all of them that we're going to be presenting. And so they thought, give her the olive branch to present in terms of the human side of things, versus it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been interesting. The DNC convention wasn't, I mean, anything to really brag about either. I will say it was
No.
better planned. I think Trump was in denial most of the time about it having to be an online endeavor.
Well, it feels like the optics and the information that was shared about the plan and on was really a lot better communicated, not well communicated, maybe better. And isn't it funny how the more I am not following the Republican convention because I don't have time to really follow it, blow by blow. I don't know if I would per se, but I still get the highlights regardless. Well, I find it interesting about what I'm hearing of. They called it the Trump Show Day on NPR, which I thought was pretty funny, because the way they described it, if he really is just kind of like each day popping in and the plan is this is what's going to happen, but what actually happens is Trump's going to drop in and surprise everyone with something, like signing pardons or naturalizing citizens and turning it into a part of his political rally, and having people that are serving the people of America with taxpayer dollars on taxpayer trips present for his campaign.
I know, and here's the thing. Here's my thing too. It's like, okay, if you want to talk about Trump pardons, let's talk about some of the pardons he's done, because there are much more interesting ones that we could talk about from his campaign.
Oh yeah, yeah. He pardoned the guy. Can't remember. Went to prison. Oh gosh, forgive me. I can't. It's not really important. He went to prison, so they pardoned him for it, and he's basically supporting Trump, and that's why they pardoned him on live TV. I mean,
Oh,
that's what it
yeah.
is.
That was the
It's
one
just a
on
stunt.
the
A stunt.
yeah, I was talking about his campaign guy.
Oh,
Was it Roger Stone?
Yes,
No.
that's the one he
Yes.
pardoned. Yeah, he did pardon him. Yep, he didn't pardon Manafort yet, did he?
No, I think Manafort's.
Too far gone.
I don't know. I honestly
He
don't
probably
know.
didn't care about him enough.
And then there was the other one that just got caught up too, or wasn't that Manafort? No, I don't even know.
No, that one was the Breitbart guy.
Yes.
I can see his face, but I can't remember
Bannon?
his name.
No.
Yes,
Is it Steve Bannon?
Yeah.
Raised money for a border wall. Did not build border wall. Kept money.
Spent millions on himself.
Gotta look good to,
Now,
raise money to build
Donald
a
Trump,
wall.
I'm pretty sure, is on record as saying he's an excellent judge of character and a great person for hiring people.
I think it's funny that he'll go around to say Hillary Clinton, like lock her up, and then with that Ghislaine Maxwell or something, he wishes her well.
Yeah. Well, it's because, like we were talking earlier, double standard, right? The perceptual lens is what he wants it to be, and that's what you get, right? It can never be a bad story for anything related to him or his quote unquote associations, right? And then unless there's something absolutely proven against somebody, I don't think he's going to stand. He's not going to go crazy rogue, off on. I mean, he goes rogue in his own way, but you know what I mean. He's not going to stop that defense of a person or leave some ambiguity without a good reason, like the QAnon stuff, right? Where they're saying, we were like, do you deny the fact that you're openly fighting against a pedophile ring at the highest reaches of the world governments? And he's like, well, I'm not doing that. Basically, it's like, what? Are you kidding me?
I don't even remember where that lady's from. The congresswoman that just got it.
Well, there's a few of them, I think. I think there's Republicans and Democrats.
No.
I'm pretty sure.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No. I'm looking this up. I am. Wow, it is like the shortest article. The FBI has called it potential domestic terror threat. The president says he doesn't know much. Now congressional candidates have signaled support. It doesn't say who. This is the least helpful thing. Oh, they want me to listen to it.
Right. And then when you go click on the listen, they try to make you subscribe to something.
I can't do that. This is research I should have done before the show. This is okay. Her name. Oh, come on. Don't make me sign up for something. Oh, it's the New York Times. You blasted thing. Okay, they want me to subscribe again. Okay, her name is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is a Republican and part of the QAnon movement, or the QAnon triumphed her in a House primary runoff election in Georgia. Oh, Georgia. Okay, sorry, that was boring. We're back. We're gonna not look up information on the fly here.
Right.
Brent, you gotta vamp for me if I do that again.
Okay, I'll stop.
QAnon's scary. And do we want to mention the double standard we were talking about? I think it's interesting. Because today's show, everyone, if you haven't read the title that you clicked on to watch it, is Joe Biden. We want to talk about him since he has accepted the nomination officially now.
We talked about Trump.
Only fair. And we were gonna, there's some allegations out there against Biden, and we thought about talking about them, but I was arguing they're less substantiated. The Biden's
much
not
less substantiated.
Right, Biden's not paid any money out, hush money, it seems, or anything like that. There's no non-disclosures, anything like that. But then Brent brought up a really good counterpoint. Like, why would it matter where Trump has had so much evidence put against him, like with Stormy Daniels?
Right.
And it didn't matter. It doesn't matter now. He's still got the nomination.
Right. Nobody seems to care about that stuff. And so, I mean, not to say, like, what did you say about that when I said, well, no one seems to care, why should it matter for Biden?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, no, you had a good point. It's like, do we want to create that type of standard?
Oh, yes. I said I think we have to. I think we have to have a higher standard because we don't want Trump to be the normal.
Right. We don't want to lower the office. We talked about this.
Me and Brent need to really
principles.
clearly preface what we're saying and saying absolutely every sexual assault allegation should be thoroughly investigated. We're not saying anything like that.
Investigated. Taken seriously.
Taken seriously. Absolutely.
Right.
And I'm not talking about that. We're just saying if it is a viable reason to not be elected president or to serve. Not
anybody should be
else.
held to the same standard of law. It's kind of like where Donald Trump has said that in his defense, his lawyers have said that he's not subject to the law the same way because the president isn't. Now, at the end of the day, is that the defense you should be offering if you're accused of crimes? Any crime. Forget what it is. You're accused of any crime. Should you be able to say, well, what I'm doing right now means that I can't be, you can't try me for that.
That's what Biden's all about.
Yeah. So
it'll
be interesting. He will have if he's elected, he'll have the first chance to have a previously sitting president tried for something, because who's going to pardon Trump?
There's no reason that Biden couldn't, if Biden's already talking about being a one-term president. But why would he?
Correct. I don't think he would. He already said he wouldn't stand in the way of him, unless there's some some absolute ungodly reason why they can't pursue it. Right?
Can I just say mean things, like not even mean things, but I have to say how silly Trump must feel for not pulling the collusion on Ukraine like now or something. Like the Biden scandal's over. You can't like the public interest is spent on that. You're not going to get anybody to care about that anymore.
You think anyway.
I
it's
really
not to say
hope
that it's dead in his eyes, right? He can bring anything back he wants, seemingly.
Gosh, Trump the necromancer.
Yeah,
bringing scandals back.
Necromancer. Necromancer.
I guess we kind of covered how our weeks were, right? Have you been doing anything new?
You know what? I think in terms of how we would describe it, no, I'm not doing anything crazy new. I'm just living the good life. Kids and wife are happy and healthy and working a lot. And I'm not going to move my camera much because I don't want to see how much of a pigsty my garage is, but that's where the kids play. So life's good. You?
Let's see. A couple of things, I guess. I officially launched the Nice Hat Publishing Facebook page, and I got price lists up there today for the different services. Doing kind
clients in the bag.
Yeah, that happened kind of fast. Actually, it was kind of surprising.
That's good. You got to take advantage, man. Jump on the opportunity pony, otherwise it's going to run away.
Yeah, it happened well, and everybody's been really satisfied so far. So that's why I figured go ahead and start advertising it. I got the I got the first few out of the way, worked out the kinks. I have a good workflow, and I figured out how to value my time better. The first time or two, it's like you're guessing.
What's it worth? Sure.
Well, and you're guessing on how long things take you, kind of, assuming best guess. And
yeah. Well, and
I just put a clock on it.
Every time.
No. Yeah, that was one of the problems. I was working with a song that had a USB mic that the guy recorded on, and it was fine. I'm using a USB mic here to sing into, but there are some quality issues. We got around it. I mean, I explain all that stuff very upfront to people. I do a virtual meeting with people before we do anything to explain what's happening.
Some reasonable idea what to expect too.
This episode brought to you by Nice Hat Publishing.
That's right. Only the best.
I know. Yeah. This is why we have a podcast, to plug our own
Brent and Chris Talk Studios. public
Yeah.
school.
Yeah, me
Okay.
and Brent we had a one-side project that was up and running, and then COVID kicked us on our butts. So we've uh, changed
As it
course.
stands to like immediately enact something there, yes.
Yeah.
We're still, that one's in the works. It's more or less a longer term play, maybe a little bit different angle.
Put on hiatus. We found out some
Yeah.
things. We made some test runs. We've got the processes down. Um, I'm excited. Like, I'm going to go ahead and announce kind of what we have in the works. I'm not going to go into details, but I'll say that super excited to say me and Brent are working on some games for kids.
Yep.
We both have kids.
Maybe adults too.
Yeah, maybe adults too. Honestly, that's one of the things too.
Aimed toward the kids, definitely.
It's something I don't mind doing with my kids, so I think it's a good plug. Made for you by
awesome.
Parents. I don't know.
Parents, it will be thoroughly tested and vetted. Kids will love it. If they don't, we won't sell it.
Yeah, so far so good. So
other games too, for sure, but those may be less to talk about.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, Chell and I have been playing it at home. We got a board game that we've got kind of created here. I don't even know if you call it a board. Yeah, I guess you call it a board game. We've got it. We've played through it. It was fun because we had one game and we played through it, and then we're like, it's fun. It's really fast. What if we change it up a little bit? And then we came up with a whole different game. So we're gonna get that one going soon. I don't know what we're gonna do with that one, but that one's fun.
Good stuff.
We woke up the next day and Chell's like, I had dreams about playing that game. I'm like, that is awesome.
Nice.
So yeah, good problem to have.
Right?
Other than that, I don't think much of anything. It's hot here. It is like so terribly hot. It's been 94, 90s this week. I mean, I'm thankful we're not on fire. I'm thankful we don't have hurricanes. But our thing to complain about is it's hot.
It to be warm.
Yeah. I'm very uncomfortable in the studio. I want to turn a fan on, but I'm not for your listening pleasure.
Yes. I do have a fan on, but mine is far away from me and aimed at me so as to not cause an issue, hopefully.
I can do a little old school.
I'm also in my garage. I think I'm allowed a fan of some kind.
I know. Well, I'm in a basement with absolutely no air circulation other than a fan.
Yeah. When that door is not open, it's the hot one in there. All that equipment. Radiating.
I know. I'm kind of glad I don't have a thermostat in here right now. I can tell you that my heart rate is at 94 just sitting here, which is probably not great. I'm going to blame that on the heat.
Yeah, right. Your body's like, come on. Pump the radiator.
I know. All right. You want to dive in?
Let's get it.
So
get to it.
We broke this up into two parts here. I covered Biden's kind of a quick biography. There's things I didn't cover, like just because they're current history and I didn't want to go that far. I wanted to do like that boring biography stuff with some fun Brent and Chris talkisms thrown in there.
Tidbits.
And then you got policy.
Yep. And boy, do I have policies.
I kept mine really good. I'm two pages, 2 notebook pages. Not even front and back.
I'm the same. 2 notebook pages.
Is that where you're at?
Yep. It's
awesome.
One piece of paper, writing on both sides.
I was going to try to see how long we've been recording so I could make a mental note for the timestamps, but that's okay. So, did you know that, do you know what Joe's middle name is?
Something different. I've seen it before. It's not like a very straightforward, like I knew it would be that.
Robinette.
Yes.
Joseph Robinette Biden. And he was born November 20th.
Name.
Yes, yeah, he's the second. And he would go on to have a third. But Joe was born November 20th, 1942. He was the first of 4 siblings. And his dad had some wealth, but lost it by the time Joe was born. And they actually lived with Joe's maternal grandparents in Scranton, Pennsylvania. For all you Office fans, Dun, 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 dun. I think that's all I can do for copyright purposes.
Nice.
So they lived in Scranton until 1953 when the family moved to an apartment in Claymont, Delaware, the state that doesn't exist. And they were there for a few years, and then they moved finally to Wilmington, Delaware. And there his dad was a successful used car salesman and managed to maintain the family's middle-class lifestyle.
Nice.
Have to say it's impressive. 4 siblings, used car salesman, keeping that afloat.
Well, that's where the real money's at, is in used cars.
Can you see some inherent used car salesman in Joe Biden?
And his smile, for sure.
I know. As soon as I read it, I was like, wow. I wonder,
Don't worry, those clicks in that transmission, they'll work themselves out.
I want to make bad jokes, but I need people to know I'm joking. Maybe that's like that's why he smells the hair. That's the equivalent of like slapping the tires, kicking the tires.
Gotta have something.
Gotta have some.
Gotta let go of those tendencies, right?
These are jokes, people. These are jokes. Don't be offended. All right. Biden was a football player.
I'm not surprised by that. Didn't he get injured?
Didn't see that at all. He played football through college. He was he's a running back in high school, I want to say, a really successful running back. But then in college, he played varsity defensive back. So I started looking into this just as a side tangent. I was like, gosh, did they even have helmets? And I guess they did.
Fair question.
They did, but they were leather helmets until the 50s. The 60s saw the introduction of the polymers, plastic helmets. But it wasn't until the later 60s that they put the face shields on.
Face shields on, yeah.
And so I was looking up football from the 50s. Mid-50s they started the polymers. But, it's crazy, dude. People, football players didn't have teeth.
No. For sure. You should look at the guys back in the day. They'd be like, oh, we had a good punch-up, and they got a picture of them taking their, a guy who, you can't even see his eye. It's, closed, and he's got, scars all over, and you're like, geez, these people were rough.
That's so nuts, dude. That's why I was wondering, maybe Joe had some, what is it? What's the football injury? Is it CTE? I don't think so.
Something cerebral, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's what I'm getting
where
at here.
The continuous blows to the head.
Yeah.
They don't help.
They don't help. So he wasn't a good student. He didn't do very well academically, which I think that pairs well with doing good athletically.
Typically.
But he was still elected high school class president.
Oh, hey, you want the football quarterback or linebacker, or do you want the guy who's
running back in high school? He basically, I guess he led his not very good football team to be undefeated.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
go Joe,
man
go.
Can carry a team, I guess.
Which I have to be honest with you. You know how Joe wanted to call Trump out? I'm opening a soda. I'm sorry if this sounds weird. Dude, over here. Remember how Joe wanted to bring out Trump behind the thing if they were in high school together?
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to Joe.
I'm going to give it to Joe, too.
So,
I think Trump was definitely a Lightfoot.
Mm-hmm. In 1965, he got his bachelor's from Delaware, double majored in history and poli-sci. He also met his first wife, Nelia Hunter, in 1964. And in 66, he marries her. And in 68, he finishes law school from Syracuse University College of Law. Fun little tidbit. His first year of law school, he was accused of plagiarizing 5 of his 15 papers.
Wow.
He claimed that he didn't understand citation.
Okay. Well, that's a bit of a poor defense for a lawyer.
I use that like same thing in like high school. Like what? I can't put quotes at the front and the end of a paper? Neil said, quote, 5 pages, end quote, and I agree. Solid
In
paper.
conclusion, I agree.
I support those points made very well. So, okay. Now, while he was in law school, he was getting draft deferments.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was classified as unavailable due to asthma.
More legit than bone spurs.
Do you outgrow asthma?
Your susceptibility to asthma attacks can change, but I'm pretty sure you always have asthma if it's something that's an issue.
I mean, it's just
My
out
dad
there.
has had it in his lifetime, his whole life, but it was a lot worse when he was a kid.
Yeah, I feel like I'm picking on Joe, but everyone else is going to pick on Joe, so I might as well do it as we go, you know?
Nothing wrong with that. You got to vet your candidates.
Being critical. I have to be honest, I'm won over after doing all this research, but we'll get to there. So in 1969, he is admitted to the Delaware bar. And he also has his first son, Joseph R. Biden III. It's got to be easy when you're like the second, you know? You're like, I know.
I'm gonna have another one.
I know my son's going to be named. Like, just got to take some pressure off. So 1970, second son is born, Robert Hunter.
Right.
And he was also that year, Joseph Biden was elected to the city council in, what did I say? Wilmington. In Wilmington.
Yep.
So I just think this is interesting. There was this governor at the time named Charles L. Terry Jr.
Mm-hmm.
He was the governor, and he had really mishandled some race riots that was going on. And Wilmington is then where we had like Martin Luther King and came to do a speech there. And that caused more riots to follow. And the governor, had the National Guard come in and didn't have them leave for like a month the first time. And then the second time he brought them in, he wouldn't let them go again, even though the mayor of Wilmington was ready to have them go.
Right.
And Wilmington riots. And the only way they left was when the guy lost his reelection and a new governor came in. So, but Biden was kind of stuck because that guy was a Democrat, but he also really didn't like Nixon. And when Biden was like doing some clerking after law school, it was for a prominent Republican, and he, for a while thought he was a Republican. He dabbled a little bit.
Hey man,
Gotta know.
Republicans are good people.
Absolutely.
Just like every side, there's bad on both, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he's had some questionable things. Don't get me wrong. Republicans too. But, so yeah, Joe's kind of stuck because he doesn't want to be a Democrat and he doesn't want to be a Republican. So not working great for him. He runs independent, gets elected to the city council. And then, that was 1970. 1971, his daughter, Naomi Christina was born. And 1972, at age 29, Joe Biden was elected to the Senate. And because he was going to be 30 after the age of when he was sworn in, he was able to run. He was the 5th youngest person ever to run for Senate. And that was on...
Wow.
Yeah. So that was earlier in 72. That was November 17th. And it's kind of, I guess, interesting thing. It was Biden versus a guy named Boggs. Boggs was backed by Nixon, and Biden had practically no chance. But Biden had no money or anything. His campaign was ran by his sister and other family members. And Delaware, I guess, is like 2 hours across and like 30 minutes up and down or something. Or, I mean, other way around. Sorry, 30 minutes across, state. 2 hours up and down. And they were like doing just so much grassroots like campaigning. And I watched videos with his sister, and they're just, I mean, like she ran several other campaigns for him too. I mean, it's a really cool story how much his family was involved with it. On November 17th, he ended up winning by 3,000 votes, and was democratically elected into Congress. Democratically elected as a Democrat. I'm sorry, that's what I'm trying to say. He was not an independent for that. And I'm dropping my paper. This is one of the saddest things, probably the saddest thing in his life. December 18th, his wife and daughter die in a car accident while they were out doing like some early Christmas shopping. All the kids were in the car, and they got hit by a semi, and the wife didn't make it, the daughter didn't make it, and both boys survived. One had like a broken bone, another one had a fractured skull. And it's obviously, I mean, I can't even describe the words at all. Very hard time for Biden. His staff in the Senate were taking bets on how long he'd make it. He wanted to drop out, but he was convinced not to, and he ended up starting to take the train every day from Delaware to Washington, which was like a 90-minute train ride each direction, just so he could still be a dad for his kids. And that's why they called him Amtrak admirable. Joe. It is. It is admirable. And in 1975, he meets a Dr. Jill Jacobs. Then in 1977, they marry. Joe works his way up Senate, and 1987, he announces his first run for the presidency. And his campaign just kind of stalled out on him. He was getting stuck in Iowa, and he was up against Dukakis, and I can't remember the other guy, but obviously he didn't win the nomination. And and then in 1988, one of the things that got him, I think this is interesting, one of the things that got him in 1987 was he plagiarized a speech from some British guy.
Come on, Joe.
I know, and like Joe had, I guess, like quoted this guy several times before, but at the debate, he didn't say, cite a source. So they brought up the papers from his law school time, and this is when it actually mattered, that you had ethical people running for things, unlike now. And it lost it for him. Yeah, so it lost it for him. But then in 88, he had 2 brain aneurysms.
Wow.
And then they had to take him back in for surgery while they were doing the fixing it surgery. He had like, sounds like a heart attack. They had to do a coronary bypass. And severe setbacks, they had less than a 50% chance he'd make a full comeback. And, obviously he did. I guess some people would question that. But he's had a massively long career in the Senate. He was there for 36 years. And while he was there, he had some 42 bills, which I think that's pretty decent. And in 1994, yeah, he has some questionable ones. 1994 was the crime bill that really, just disproportionately affected African Americans. That's when they claimed that crack cocaine was just so much worse than powder cocaine. And 1996, he voted in favor of a marriage bill. He was friends with Strom Thurmond, which not a real popular guy.
Right.
And
rightfully so. Crazy guy.
Right. So he was
I'm
involved.
Watching this wicked bee in my room, in my garage right now, making sure he's not getting too close to me.
That's terrifying. I got stung by a bee. It was terrible.
This thing's huge, man. Go ahead. I'm
uh,
listening. Strom Thurmond.
no, yeah, you're good. He was involved with a lot of things. His friends with Strom Thurmond. He was there for the Anita Hill incident with Clarence
Oh
Thomas.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
He hammered her in questioning.
End of Vietnam,
Unsavory.
the
Said he
impeachment of
regretted it.
Nixon, and
Yeah.
then he was the chair of Senate Judiciary. He ended up becoming a very high-ranking member of Senate. He was there for a long time.
Right. He had time to accumulate the street cred, if so you will.
Right. And let's see. 2009 is when he becomes the 47th vice president with Barack Obama.
Yep.
And interesting that year, that's when Democrats flipped. Interesting. I'm sorry, I'm reading something else I wrote. During that year, they caused the House to flip, but they only. I'm getting ahead of myself. Reverse that. Scratch the past 15 seconds. 2009, he had convinced 3 moderate Republicans to cross lines and vote for a stimulus package during a financial crisis. Joe is kind of like known for working across party lines, which was,
Right.
I don't know, good and bad. It's like an old school thing, but that is definitely part of his allure, I guess, if you will. He does work with Republicans, and he maybe could get past the gridlock. I don't think Matt Gaetz is somebody you cooperate with, or Jim Jordan, or any of
Oh
those
man, that
fools.
guy, Jim Jordan, is such. I have words, but I won't use them.
So Joe Biden,
Yes.
Joe Biden did that in 2009, and in 2018. When the Dems flipped the House,
Mm-hmm.
they did 41 seats. Flipped 41 seats. Only 7 of those seats were in the Progressive Caucus, which means 34 of them were moderate. And I'm just saying, from an election standpoint, I understand why Joe is the candidate.
Yeah.
I understand why the left feels, like the liberal left feels a little disenchanted. And I
Sure.
mean, I do get it. I also accept the need for a greater good.
Do you want to win or you want to win?
I know. Only other thing I was going to cover. I mean, we've talked about other things Joe did about, when the impeachment stuff was going on. We had covered some of the scandals and whatnot. But in May 30th, 2015, his son died of brain cancer,
Right.
and that was Bo. Other sad fact: he takes every December 18th off. Never works on that day to honor his wife and daughter that passed. So that's my little biography of Joe Biden. Sorry I muddled it up a little bit there. Got a little ahead of myself at the end, but
No,
he's an
it's all good.
interesting guy. Long story, long history, long life, and I mean that's crazy. That's a long tenure in the Senate.
Yeah. Like you said, there's good and bad to that. Given
I'm
the
not
fact
even.
that,
We're not even 36 yet.
yeah, people in there that long. I mean, I don't know. There's so many. Every situation, every election, it's different situations. So it's hard to say that maybe there weren't good candidates to oppose or replace. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's hard.
So you're gonna lay
So, am I on
so
policy?
that is our candidate. Now tell us his platform, sir. What are we getting ourselves into for the future? That was his past.
Oh, so there's so much to cover with policy. Um,
Yeah, would you say it was on his website?
JoeBiden.com is his website, and if you go out there, you'll see that there are 46 different policy proposal overviews on the main policy page, and they cover everything from Central American policy to supporting veterans to education and gun violence. It's a pretty wide array of topics, which I sort of feel like he took the halfway approach from Elizabeth Warren, and instead of saying I have a plan for that for every possible thing under the sun, he has a plan for a large number of topics. And I will put an asterisk next to plan because I think it's asterisk. I think it's important to note that a lot of these say something to the effect of "will be releasing comprehensive details soon" or other things
You're not
soon.
supposed to click on the link, Brent.
Right? You're not supposed to try to read. There's a lot of words under every single one of these policies, but the meat of it is really only in his Build Back Better
Yeah.
motto, focus, whatever you want to call it. Maybe that's not his motto, but you know what I mean. The Build Back Better was the plan that he announced, sort of like Make America Great.
Right.
And so that's really where I took my focus was on the Build Back Better stuff, because that covers the majority of his platform. But there's so much more to it, and I'll get into that too. So the first thing under Build Back Better is jobs and economic recovery. And the key for him there is once he takes office, he wants to focus on pandemic relief because he knows that we're not going to be out of the woods even next year, when the next president or Trump, if he gets reelected, is there. And so his stance there is he wants to provide state and local government with relief. He wants to extend unemployment benefits, the federal benefits, the $600 per period, per check. And he wants to provide relief and rebuilding packages for small businesses, which I think makes a lot of sense. Given I don't want to get totally ahead of myself on comparing and contrasting policy, but Donald Trump's big thing was the payroll tax, the holiday, I think is what he called it. And there's so many issues to unpack with that. I'm not going to get into that right now, but look it up if you don't understand why taking away payroll tax is an issue on so many different levels. But it's no solution for small businesses or any business really, for that matter.
Spoiler, it directly relates to Social Security.
Dang right, and more.
Yeah.
The second pillar of Build Back Better is manufacturing and innovation. And he wants to build the industrial base and small town business supply chains to create a lot of union jobs is the gist of it. That's one of the things that has a lot less detail. It talks, if you get into that policy, it talks a lot more. Go ahead.
It's a fallacy. It's an impossibility.
He's not directly going to do anything for manufacturing and innovation unless they give them money. Like the thing that they and that's probably part of the plan. That's just it. They haven't released a whole lot beyond just saying that. I literally summed up in those few words exactly what they have under that policy, and it's several paragraphs long. It's huge. That's really the gist of it. Is they want the union, creating union jobs and union collective bargaining power is a big focus of what he promotes. And I'm not going to get into the union's good or bad thing right now. I just think that that's important to note. If you go out there and read on these, you're going to see that come up time and again about how he wants people to have the ability to bargain with their employers.
I got Joe behind me, if you didn't notice.
Yeah. Nice monitor there, buddy.
Doing my part.
So next thing is building modern infrastructure and equitable clean energy future. So this is a lot of different stuff to unpack, but really when it comes to the modern infrastructure, he's talking about providing federal funds to rebuild roads and bridges, which bridges I know are a massive issue. I mean, the states are all very far behind on replacement of bridges to keep them safe. He wants to revamp the electrical grid and modernize it. I think that is a massive undertaking, but also something that could create a lot of jobs. Also is a unifying topic among, folks in politics, those that support each party, in my opinion. So I think that's a really good one. He wants to provide a lot more money to rebuild school facilities, provide more in the way of equitable facilities too, across regardless of the income of the area and so forth. So I think putting people on a level playing field with education, that's an admirable pursuit. And then universal broadband was the other big piece under infrastructure that he's trying to create. And I think that is important too. I mean, if you want to be competitive, if you want to be a real part of modern society, if you don't have broadband, it's going to be difficult to accomplish that.
Is that implying free broadband, or is just that we need
access? I think it's more of an access thing, if nothing else.
Yeah, not a free service.
Yep. So nothing free, no freebies there. So the next thing under Build Back Better is modern care. He calls it modern caregiving and education work and modern education workforce. And the real focus there, and I got more of it out of the caregiving piece from this policy, but he talks mostly about providing more affordable child and elder care and disability care, which I think makes a lot of sense on the surface, but this is one where there wasn't spilling out details of how are they going to pay for it. And I mean, I'm not the first person who's going to sit there and say that you can't, oops, I think I may have bumped something, sorry. I'm not going to be the first person to say that you can't, I don't want to put this. You can't provide people benefits, tax incentives, whatever, to pay for these kinds of services, whatever it may be. But I don't want to just, how are you going to pay for it, right? I don't want to just write a blank check for everything under the sun that we're trying to do.
I think the idea is that it would save on people in nursing homes that don't have money for it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, and people like single mothers who don't, how are you going to, if you can't afford, you could barely survive affording daycare, how much better it would be if you didn't pay for all of it, or somewhat subsidized. So I think there's some merit there. It's just, how are you going to pay for all this? Well, I may be getting to that a little bit later.
Oh, okay.
So the next big thing is advanced racial equality. So broad, so much to unpack, and they don't really do it justice. Their main focus here is talking about how to close the wealth gap through providing educational opportunities, affordable housing, investing in minority communities through grants and small businesses, and eliminating food deserts. And then the other thing was police and criminal justice reform. And I don't want to get hung up on that one too much, but I like that word reform, not defund, because I think that the word defund's a bit misguided when it comes to police and criminal justice. So again, advanced racial equality, admirable thing to try to attack. I think in these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullets, I mean, you're scratching the surface of all the issues. So I think it's important to pick things you want to go after, but they probably should rename that something else. In my opinion. So I mean, those. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's just that's interesting.
What were you gonna say, buddy?
I should probably skip it on the. I should probably skip it.
Oh, were you gonna go the wrong way?
I probably was gonna go the wrong way with some of the race stuff, but.
Well, and it's difficult. I mean, us being two Caucasian males, I mean, you walk on thin ice addressing a lot of that stuff. Not to say we shouldn't care about it, but it's difficult to just dive in head first. So maybe we should move on and just say, and those 5 things, right? Jobs, economic recovery, manufacturing, innovation, build modern infrastructure, clean energy, modern caregiving, educational workforce, advanced racial equality. Those are the 5 tenets of Build Back Better, which I think a lot of that gets behind, some of the biggest problems we have right now, if he's given the chance.
Yeah.
Now, I said there was 46 different policy proposals, and I thought, hey, I want to cover some other stuff that's important. And believe me, there's so much more. Okay, other things, and again, there's nothing really talking about how they're going to pay for all this stuff, but he fully supports increasing the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour, which I think that's good, raising the standard of living for a lot of people. Protecting union bargaining rights. I was talking about that earlier. I'm not going to dig in again, but he's very focused on making sure people have, it's not a problem per se. It's making sure that the level playing field is created, not a point of leverage that can be a perpetual cycle of issues. We'll just say it like that. He wants to implement universal paid sick leave. They didn't really say sick leave, but they want to support universal paid sick leave. So, I mean, I think if that's cool, love it. Give me some more. How much? How are you going to pay for it? How are you going to get people to do that? It's kind of like FMLA. Like they made a law that you have to be able to let people have their job back if you meet certain criteria. Speaking of FMLA, he wants 12 weeks of paid FMLA. I don't know how much there is now. I should have researched that. I think it's something more like 6 or 8 that you get paid. But he wants 12, which if you're like maternity leave and all that, that's a really awesome benefit if you can have it. Expand universal health care options. When I was reading into this one, it was really talking more about, he's talked at length about this, fixing some of the things that they were trying to accomplish with Obamacare that didn't quite work out. And so I don't think that there's a complete solution there. Again, this is not one they totally explain how they're going to, expand universal health care options. But I think that, again, if you can find some way to take out the sting of requiring the mandate, for having it, but still having a viable program, where people participate in a market that survives and isn't totally government subsidized. Cool.
Yeah.
Tell me how you're going to do it. This one kind of flies in the face of what Trump did. He wants to increase corporate taxes and accountability. And what I got from that was, and I didn't write down the rates, but basically he doesn't want to take the corporate tax rate all the way back up to what it was before Trump took it down with his tax cuts he got passed. He wants to bring it back up a certain percentage of that. I can't remember exactly. Forgive me. It'll be in my links. So he wants to do that, and then increase corporate accountability. Basically, in particular, when corporations are given money from us, the taxpayer, they've already built some of this in, I think, to the CARES Act and things like that. But I guess, more comprehensive approach to making sure that money, that the corporations have the ownership of accounting for what they've done with our money and how they're going to pay it back and so forth, which, good. Just don't make it too complicated so people don't take advantage of that and just go bankrupt. The last one I'll talk about like this policy-wise is in wealth taxes. He wants the folks making the most money at the top to pay a larger percent of taxes. I'm not totally opposed to that. You and I have talked at length about how I don't want it to get out of hand where people are totally scaring off all the rich people. It's not that I'm a super proponent of rich people, because I'm not one of them, but the biggest thing to me is they bring so much in terms of economy and wealth standard to regions. And there's good and bad to it, but to me, the good outweighs the bad if the folks are held accountable to paying their fair share.
Yeah.
So let's get into how have Biden's stances changed over the years. I picked 3 what I thought were fairly significant ones, because you could dig into this forever. And politicians, they change at the whim of the wind of societal opinion blowing, right? So free college is one of them. And this happened, he kind of piggybacked on the far left idea, like Sanders and Warren. He latched right on to what they were saying about free college, and now supports free college and universities for families making less than $125,000 collect, as a whole family. So he kind of bit on that one. That was when he resisted for a long time, and then during the last cycle when they were eliminating the candidates out there, he latched onto that one and totally changed his stance. I think he saw the writing on the wall. I mean, people
Again,
need education, and they don't want to be saddled with all this debt.
I'm pretty against means-based benefits. I mean, it's just a race. It's a race to the bottom.
What creates one? I mean, there's a threshold. Some people aren't going to make it no matter what. If you want to have a dual income family, you're never going to make that unless you have certain, certain standards.
I know, and
I
I mean,
don't know. I
like,
feel like it's too easy to get disqualified from it.
yes, like when it's so important, how dare
Maybe I'm
they
thinking
acknowledge it's so important? Like, what if your parents make that much, but they don't want to give you any money for college? That doesn't mean it's your money. Like, that doesn't mean you get to go
right. And
use your kids.
see, and I have so many, me, I've talked about this. I'm grateful for the money my parents gave me for college. There was no freebies. And like, I was so far advantaged beyond a lot of people because my parents could afford that stuff, because I wasn't saddled with all that undergraduate debt.
Yep.
And my parents would have never qualified for this 125K. My parents were not super rich. I mean, my family, like we did fine. Like we lived a good life, but it wasn't like, man, we're fucking rolling in it. Sorry about that first F-bomb.
That's our one. We're rated R right now.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. I have issues with that straight up. I would agree with you that it needs to be more universal of a standard for certain levels of education. Maybe you get the first 2 years for free, get all the gym meds out of the way, and then you get to decide what you want to pursue as like a core topic, a core pursuit, and then then you're on the hook for that to some degree, and then you go for grants and whatever else.
Yeah, I just have this hard time like wrapping my head around it. Like, I don't know. I mean, stupid stuff. Like, how do you get Americans to agree? We want a smart country. We want a country that's smart, that can figure things out, and can be competitive.
You have to convince them that it's you have to convince them it's not socialist to think that that's for the greater good. That's what it is, man.
Our
It's completely
founding
that.
fathers
Yeah.
were. I mean, it is
100%. They knew that we had to educate the people. If you want to have a good society, an improving society, you have to educate the people. And it doesn't mean you have to sit there and everyone's got to have degrees. It means that they can go to trade schools, that they can learn how to do whatever they want to do. And that's like you're doing with music pursuits. You could pursue that.
Yeah.
And provide value to society through that. You could go to welding school, mechanic school, painting, swimming. It doesn't matter as long as you provide value. That's the thing. We don't value that. That's the shame of it. It's the rat race of I want to be better and have more than everybody else and get mine. And the level of greed prevents us from seeing the fact that if we educate people, they in turn will create more value for society and then provide more value back in terms of the taxes they're paying and they would have otherwise. And then we're that much better off.
I mean, you never know. You never know the kid that could come up with the life-saving technology that saves your life someday.
Oh, yeah, that's the truth. You don't. It's anyone and everything. I mean, there's people who come from homeless lifestyles who develop life-saving cures and things that you wouldn't even imagine. That's just one kind of example. So, beyond free college, Joe has changed his stance on bankruptcy. This one he stole straight from Elizabeth Warren.
I know. I mean, this is like her policy.
He wants to bolster bankruptcy protections that were eliminated by a law that Biden himself championed as a senator. And basically, and specifically, it has to do with student loan debt forgiveness.
Yep.
So he championed eliminating that forgiveness, and now he wants to get it back.
Now he wants to champion eliminating the elimination.
Elimination, right? And so I think that's where you get to. There's two things here. One, it's a typical politician flip-flopping.
Yep.
At public whim, perhaps, most likely. The other side of it, though, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to admit that you were wrong and to change your stance on occasion. If
I
you're doing it all the time,
yeah.
it's ridiculous. Go ahead.
I mean, here's my thing. Are you electing someone whose principles and ideals are, simpatico? What's the right word? That
Simpatico. Mm-hmm.
yes, if they completely align with you, are you voting someone who is a conduit for public sentiment? Are you voting for someone who you think is going to listen to the majority of the people? And if that's the case, are they flip flopping? Are they? I mean, like, how is it fair to say that like, let's use gay marriage? How is it fair to say that the country's stance on gay marriage changed? Why can't his political views change?
Yeah, I think, and again, it's back to that you have to somehow reconcile yourself with the fact that people that are thinking and learned,
Yeah,
they're reasoning and they understand that it's okay to be man to think back. If you hold
spider
firm
right
and
here.
stubborn to everything, then you're gonna have issues.
Go away, spider.
Oh man, it's a buggy night. I lost my friend the murder hornet over here somewhere in the corner. I'll go get my raid spray after the meeting and take care of him.
Dude, you got the garage door open too. That's crazy. It's still hot.
Oh, I have to have the garage door. It's moving air. Garage door's open,
Oh,
moving air. Got the fan thing on me. It's nice. I'm hot, but I'm not miserable.
yeah, 80 degrees. Probably that in here in my tomb with my
Um,
stinky feet.
so I think that most people would be down with student loan forgiveness if you do qualify for bankruptcy.
Sure.
That's my take. Last thing I'll touch on that this is a biggie, the Hyde Amendment. So basically, Biden's held the same viewpoint for 40 years on this, that taxpayer funds should not be used for abortion, to support abortion. And just recently, again, during the debates and the speech, when they were still vetting the candidates out there, Warren Sanders, Harris, all of them, Buttigieg, he was literally getting ready to give a speech and said, "Give me a pen," to one of his aides, and rewrote his stance, saying that he now supports repealing restrictions for using taxpayer funds for abortion. That's a biggie.
There's a biggie.
So he's been hammered on that one in terms of principle. I mean, that's weighty. It gets into your religious beliefs and
Yeah, he grew up pretty devout Catholic. His parents had issues when he married a Roman Catholic with his first marriage.
yeah. So he can change. I don't think he's as bad as some, but definitely changes his stance on. And it doesn't seem that many of these changes would be considered not admirable, but it could be even a sign of the times, right? Things, if you
Yeah.
don't read public opinion, you're not going to survive long as a politician.
One of the interviews I watched with, I don't even know, somebody talking about Biden, it'll be in the links. They were just saying that he's just been around a long time.
Yeah,
And, it's okay. But it definitely has showed his, like you said, his flip flops over the ages.
yep. They have time to pick it up.
Yeah.
You have time to catalog those and look at them and compare
The other
and
one,
contrast and say, okay, well, is guy legit? Is he really worth it?
the big one I saw too is his speech, or he talked later in his life too about how he regretted the '94 crime bill. He said that
Yeah,
the experts at the time, they told congressional leaders that crack was worse. They said, you don't come back from crack. And then that all turned out to be hooey, and found that powder cocaine was the same as crack cocaine. And I mean, thousands of lives were ruined for things like African American lives were
yeah,
ruined for things their white counterparts were doing, just in a different form of.
getting away with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a stain on him, and it's a shame too because it is completely possible to be given wrong information from experts and then make bad decisions based on it.
I'm
And
sure there'll be
it
things we
takes a
have to
certain
eat
kind of
crow on.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes a certain kind of person to say, you know what, I was wrong.
I wanted to mention
And
too, Joe had a stutter problem. It was worse in his 20s, and but he's actually part of like a national stutter foundation, and he says it still affects him to this day, but mainly when he's tired. So I think that's interesting.
yeah, there's that kid he met and helped out.
Right.
Right? There was the kid he met and helped out or whatever with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my dog's inside.
He's also
It's good, though. I mean,
he's into teetotalism,
well, don't know what that is.
the complete abstinence from alcohol.
Oh, like teetotalers?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know he didn't drink.
Yeah, I guess some of his family has some substance abuse issues, so he chose to never tempt fate.
No, good for him.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other little tidbits. I always write these
That might be
random
one of
things
the
in
few
the
things he has in
podcast.
common with Donald Trump.
I know, right?
Wow.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I do have one more little segment, if I may.
Yes.
I did a bit of research on how Biden's stances compared directly with Trump's. Right?
Okay.
We'll compare and contrast. I did three things again. I don't want to take forever on this. But there was a nice Reuters article I'll share with you guys. You can check it out if you want to read more. So, like the economy, Biden is he's all for with the current status, cautious reopening. He wants to. He said he'd shut it down again if the experts said that they should, and he favors trillions of dollars and more in aid to be passed by Congress right away. Trump said that he wants everything open now. We know this. Open it fast and stay open regardless of the data, as it seems. I mean, I don't know how else to interpret it. And limited additional aid or no additional aid, depending upon when you read about what he's saying. Most recently, it's limited aid, you know, the tax holidays and, you know, wanting the his executive memorandums and such that he recently passed, those kinds of things. Taxes. Biden said directly he would reverse some of Trump's 2017 tax cuts, mostly related directly to the corporation tax cut and the rich tax cut that he did. He said that he'd be in favor of a $15 minimum wage. It has nothing to do with taxes, but I guess I found that in the tax segment. Trump said that he would like to, again, cut payroll taxes, and he wants no additional tax increases on the wealthy because they drive the economy. And the last piece, manufacturing, Biden said he wants to offer $700 billion for American-made products to be purchased by the government and for research in conjunction with private industry to advance innovation. And he also wants to stop the tariff war as it is with China and find other ways to deal with the problems that we have with trade with them. And then conversely, Trump on manufacturing said he wants to boost American manufacturing, encourage business, and mostly encourage businesses not to offshore. Kind of like his quote unquote order companies not to send more jobs overseas that he can't do.
Right.
So sorry, had one last little bit. I couldn't let those go.
No, that's good. The one thing too, I'm sorry, I'm gonna throw my last bit on. Looking at his campaign, and especially even just hearing that, like, regardless of how centrist he is, this is still the most progressive Democratic platform we've seen.
Correct, 100%. He's no socialist, not even close. Though I don't understand why they're hammering on that one, just to create a narrative. Really, in my opinion,
it's age-old nonsense. It works.
But
sadly,
yeah,
socialism is the word.
Honestly, if Bernie was up there, they'd have a chance. You know what I mean? Like, they'd have a chance of accusing him of being socialist, even though Bernie's not a quote-unquote straight socialist.
I know, democratic socialist. People are not
And
intelligent,
so
and they'd be like,
they're
"What is
blurring the
socialist in the
lines.
word?" Yeah, right.
Right, exactly. So yeah, it's not fair, and I think that those are the things that they rile up the base for Trump, and they some people are going to hear that and go, "Oh, I don't want a socialist. I don't want to pigeonhole certain age groups or
Here,
sexes or races into that." But you know what I mean?
I mean, it's kind of sad, but I mean, realistically, the progressive people, I count myself as a little more progressive than Joe, but I understand that we didn't get it done. We didn't get it out for Bernie. And when it came time to really step up and show support for Hillary, I don't think all of us did that were as progressive. Not saying me and you, I voted for her, but I think there was still a
Yeah,
lot of people who had lost all interest, all
they
hope.
were bitter.
They were bitter. I don't think they did. And I think Joe went into this knowing, well, I'm probably going
I
to
got to get
still
them.
lose those people, but what else can I get? And I think he can get a lot of the
Yeah.
Trump people.
I do too. I mean, I've heard a surprising number of people that I never would have thought I would have heard say they vote for Biden. They're saying it. Now there's a lot of people I've heard too say they're not going to vote at all, or that they don't trust Biden, and so reluctantly they're going to vote for Trump. I'm scared still. I don't think anything's in the bag. I think all the polls this far out in particular are still, you can't trust that stuff. Like it, anything could happen.
I'm going to go ahead
It's
and say
Trump's to
it.
lose.
I agree. I'm going to say it right now, though. I am feeling positive.
Oh yeah, I feel positive. Doom and gloom will come if something drastically bad happens to F Joe's campaign. It could
Um,
happen.
itching for the debates. Hey, we're going to live stream a debate. I just announced that, and Brent didn't know it, but we're going to make that happen. And
We should.
yeah, so be looking out for that. I don't know. I here's my thing. I was already going to vote for him. I'm not even going to pretend like I wasn't. I'm
Right.
always Joe over Trump for the climate, for Supreme Court judges, for a lot of the same reasons that people talked themselves into voting for Trump. But don't get me wrong, any man who can balance two kids at home and be a United States senator, uh, he's a hard worker. I mean, and he seems like just a good guy. I mean, it really does seem like he's a good guy to me.
That's just it. I feel like you can't really say. When I saw the first day of the Republican convention, somebody said that Trump was the vanguard of modern civilization. I literally laughed out loud at my desk at work, and people were looking at me funny
I'm pretty
because,
sure that was that kid that was laughing in the face of the Native American.
yeah, and if it was, shame on him. But it's like I completely understand. Um, I don't know. Joe could be that. Is he that? Don't know. Got to give him a chance. Trump is not even close to that. Like he doesn't even, in my opinion, doesn't even represent all Americans. Like he represents the Republican base that elected him. The rest of us are just out to dry.
Actively tries to leave us out to dry.
Yeah, the
I
great unifier.
I know we both got to wrap up because it's getting late, but I want to say, gosh, both of our thoughts are with the people of Louisiana and Texas. It
Man, yeah.
sounds pretty scary down there.
Hopefully people can get out away from the deadly storm surges.
Just what I read today was 20 feet storm surges.
Yep. The governor of Texas is doing the right thing though, and really push people to get out. So I hope they were able to get people out.
Even the
I think
videos,
tomorrow's.
yeah, the videos with the empty beaches and the dark clouds and the waves come in. I mean, they're just spooky. And California's on fire.
Right. It's a
So,
tough year. This is peak of the hurricane season too, by the way. It's not the end of it.
yeah,
They could have more.
yeah, are still looking at the possibility of two? I don't even know if that's still a thing.
The other one was more of a tropical depression, just dropped some rain. But this is a category 4 hurricane.
Yeah,
Nasty.
and I heard it could even strengthen more.
I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised that it strengthened right. Like right now is right before it makes landfall, and that's when it can do the worst,
Maybe that's
most of
what I
that.
was reading it yesterday. Yeah, everything happens so fast with that stuff. I guess I can't say a day ago I read something that's still current with it, but
It's hard.
try to
Too
keep
much
up in
info.
this world. Anything else? Do we miss anything?
No, I think it was a good overview of Biden. We had talked about maybe doing a Pence Harris episode at some point. Don't know if we could dedicate a whole show to each, but we could talk about it.
I like Harris. I think we could do Harris and maybe another topic or something. I don't know. Pence is just so boring to me.
You're yawning just thinking about it.
I am, and that was like natural. Stephen Colbert had to fake it. I just did it totally natural.
Yeah,
Harris is
I don't.
interesting.
I was thinking, I'm like, man, she's interesting.
I'd like to look at
But
her, the things against her. I think it's just, I get really frustrated when people start bringing up her conviction. They said more
mhm.
African Americans were convicted or something while she was state's attorney for California. I just don't know how her, I don't know. I think there's some questionable correlations people are drawing from that. And
Probably got to look into the data on it. I mean, understand what were the crimes. Was it something that was spurred, like the crime bill thing, where people really
right,
were being taken. So
another one.
more to unpack there.
I know, not tonight.
Nope. All
I'm
right.
gonna edit this thing, not tonight. I'm gonna probably wake up in the morning and do that and get it posted. So that is the goal. And I thank everyone for watching this.
Yeah.
And I hope you've
Been
learned
nice to
some.
record one.
Yeah, I know. I know. Brent will come back in the studio. We're just trying to be safe. My wife was working the COVID unit for a few weeks, and
Keep it moving.
Brent works in a different hospital. Just too many germs.
But in a hospital, no less. I know. Scary times.
I know.
All right, buddy. Good
Well,
show.
everyone, wear a mask, wash your hands, social distance. Have a great day. Have a great week.
Thanks again.
And I'm Chris Tapp. This is Brent Miller. You've been watching Brent and Chris Talk.